What's happening, guys? We're back. And it got cold out again. Alright, so in the last episode, we figured that if the weather held off for a little bit longer, we'd be able to do a little bit of tuning on the car, maybe take it for another test drive. Upon editing the video from last week, the audio and video quality of driving is so bad. I almost got sick watching it. So I'd like to take it for another drive, get some more footage, show kind of how it drives and get used to it a little bit. Nope, she's snowy. But it snowed like 8 inches. So that's kind of off the table for a bit. But rather than stripping it apart right away, which is what I had intended on doing, because I want to do some paneling and stuff on the interior and run my brake lines and stuff like that in a little bit more of a organized fashion, I figured we may as well do everything that we can do while it's together. So we're gonna try to pick up a couple projects today, get those knocked off, things that have been kind of on the list for a while that aren't critical to it driving, and then we'll kind of do that for a couple weeks until either the weather turns nice and we get to drive it again, which it's southern Alberta. It's gonna be like plus 20 patio weather here in a week probably. So either we'll do it until then or till we run out of stuff to do and we gotta strip the car down. So today the plan is, I've had this little pile of stuff over there kind of growing. I got things like, I got a new clutch, I got a new fuel pressure regulator, I got new fluids, I got wiper stuff. So one of the things I got though is a fuel pressure gauge. So this is gonna get mounted onto the fuel pressure regulator so we can adjust the fuel pressure at the end. But what I thought is, it'd be nice to know what we're starting at, to see if this is actually a problem. So I went down to Home Depot and got some completely rated for automotive fuel use plumbing parts. Just 2 nipples and a T. So we should, I haven't actually tried this. There we go. So we can put our gauge on that, and then we'll just run this in line right now before the injector rail and fire the car up and see what the fuel pressure's at. So that's one project that we got on the go. The other one is, I hate the way that our brake reservoirs look. Hang on. Let's see if I can get you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. There we go. So we have these 3 reservoirs here, 2 for the brakes and 1 for the clutch. And they got these hoses coming out the bottom, looping around. It's really ugly. I just drilled holes in it, in the firewall to get the hoses through and stuff. It's not a clean install, and it bugs me. So what I figured I'd do is we'll build our own brake fluid reservoir. So I got started on it here the other day. So it's kind of got this angle here, which matches the firewall angle. So this will sit level. And then inside there's 3 compartments, 2 for the brakes and 1 for the clutch. And then we'll do, I drilled and tapped some aluminum bar, and we'll weld that onto the bottom of this, like that. Cut a chunk out of there. So that we'll be able to bolt this reservoir right onto the firewall with 3 little holes, and we'll just punch 3 of these little thingy-majiggies through the firewall, and then they're drilled and tapped for a 1/8 MPT, so we'll be able to just put like an elbow and a nipple on them for the master cylinders we got right now, or we might do hardline in the future. I don't know, we'll see. So that I think is the project that I want to do right away. So I did get started on it. I welded up this box, and then I went and put some water in it to check for leaks. It leaks everywhere. It leaks out of the box. It leaks in between the compartments. It leaks everywhere. So we actually have to cut this all apart and re-weld it in a smarter fashion. I'm not sure what that is yet, but hopefully it'll come to me as we're working. So let's cut this apart and make a brake reservoir. All right, so we hacked apart all the pieces. So we got kind of two, I don't know, end tanks, we'll call them. Sure, why not? They'll be end tanks. And then a centerpiece and our little dividers. So I think our new plan is, rather than try to do all of it at once, seal up in between the compartments and seal up the outside, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our end tanks and our dividers, and we're gonna weld these guys in to make them, I don't know, a proper tank. Give it 4 sides, and then we'll be able to test this guy for leaks, to make sure that there's no leaks in here. We'll do that on both of them, and then once we're done that, we'll have 2 tanks that'll be complete and watertight, and then we'll take our centerpiece here and we'll weld that in between them, and then we can put water in the middle one and see, and if there's any leaks out of that one, we can just re-weld it on the outside. So that way each weld that we do is only doing one job, kind of thing. So that's the plan. I got everything dressed, got bevels on the parts that need bevels. We'll put some sort of a spacer block in here to hold this piece up, and then weld her up. All right, we got our end tanks built. They're still very hot, so I have to wear gloves when I'm handling them. But got those welded up. Had a little trouble welding. It's a little tough, that kind of corner arrangement is a little bit tough, especially with aluminum, but we got them done. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take these inside and fill them up with water and leave them overnight. My thoughts are, if there is like a slight leak, we won't see it if we just pour water in it. We're gonna have to leave it for a bit. So I'm gonna do that. I cleaned up the weld, so it should be ready. If everything goes good, tomorrow morning I'll be able to come out here, join those 2 pieces together. So I'm gonna fill these up with water, catch up with you guys tomorrow. And we're back. Time to get some work done. So I took these inside and water tested them. I actually water tested them for like 2 days. No leaks at all. So that's a good sign. I think we can move forward with our plan. The one thing though is that I started to kind of I started to kind of inspect the welds on these, and I'm not sure that they're gonna be good for the long haul. I'm still fairly new to aluminum welding. I'm still fairly new to TIG welding. I have no training. I'm just kind of learning as I go. And this is reasonably thick stuff. Like, we're 1/8 of an inch aluminum, and I've been prepping it like I prep steel joints. So what I mean, this is I got a pen. This is an interesting joint because hang on, give me a second. I gotta get artistic here. So the joint is like this, where I have one piece butted up on the corner here. I guess like a, kind of like a, it's not even a half lap, whatever. Joint looks like that from the top. And then I'm gonna be connecting another piece on to there later. So to do this weld, what I would do in steel is I would half bevel. So I'd bevel off that section right there so that I can get a full penetration weld. And then I would start my weld down here and essentially fill all this with weld so that I get good fusion all the way along there. And then whatever I get bubbled up here, I can just come in and sand all that off, and I'd end up with a nice, square edge. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that with aluminum. So, same joint. So I did that half bevel. just like that. But it looks like when I went and welded it, I basically got a weld like that. So I have some fusion here, and I have some fusion here, but I didn't get all the way down, and this is exaggerated, it actually went down about halfway. So I didn't get right down into the root. So then when I came by with the grinder and cut all this off, I was left with a void. Kinda, hang on, bear with me. So it kind of looks like that. So I only actually welded like a 1/16 of an inch. And that's a little generous in some of the spots. So that's not great. I think the way to approach this in the future, because the aluminum doesn't want to flow as nicely, is I think I should double bevel it. So I'd end up like this. Like that, so I got like a nice big wide opening there so I can start right at the bottom and fill all that up. So I think that's the way that I should be doing it. I don't know, like I said, I'm new, it's aluminum, I have no idea what I'm doing. But that's what I'm gonna try to do with these next welds, see if they work any better. I'm also getting lots of like weird burn through and some adhesion issues and stuff. It's learning, but we're gonna forge forward with this and hopefully get it to work with it in the back of our minds that this is design 1.0 and we might be doing a different one. So the next step is we need to weld our center section on here to make our 3 chambers. So this is a straight up butt weld right there. So I'm gonna do what I just talked about. I'm gonna do a double bevel. So I'm gonna bevel this side and I'm gonna bevel this side so that I have my, that thing's a problem. That thing's a problem. I don't plan that either. So yeah, so I'll double bevel it so that hopefully I can get a full penetration weld there, and then when I smooth it off, I'll be good. I could have also probably left a weld bead on here and that would have added quite a bit of strength to those previous welds, but didn't work out that way. So that's our next step. Let's weld these guys together. All right, there they are all beveled. Let's spark up the welder and cross our fingers. All right, the reservoir's all welded up. That double bevel worked way better. I got way better penetration on my welds and everything just turned out nicer. So maybe that's the key with aluminum, is you gotta prep your joint a lot better. But I took it inside and put some water in the center section to leak check those welds. And then we'll see if there is a leak. I think there's a little leak on the one corner, but we can just file it out and fill it in. So our next step is we need to build our little outlets. These are just 3/4 inch round bar that we gun drill and then put a 1/8 MPT thread on the end, and then we'll come in here and cut the last like inch. We'll kind of half cut it, you'll see. But anyhow, I built this one to test it. I think I'm gonna build 3 more, and we're not gonna use this one, just because if I build all 3 at the same time, they'll be reasonably identical. So let's grab some round bar, chuck it up in the lathe, and get to work. All right, so I made my my blanks, and then I marked them out. You guys saw me do that there, just by using the corner of a chunk of high-speed steel to run up and down the sides to make a straight line, and then across the end, so that I could take a hacksaw and slice it in half like that. What that does is then I have the access to the hole on the inside there, because I drilled it deep enough. I probably could have went another 1/4 of an inch in, but whatever, it's far enough. And then I can take this and weld it, cut a hole in here, and then weld this to the bottom of our reservoir, and we'll have our outlets. So that turned out pretty good. I still got some work to do with the file on this, because right now it's at a 90, so it made up on that side, but it actually has to go on this side, because this is going to be our firewall side. So got a little bit more work to do on the file on these, but I went inside to grab this to show you guys this, and somehow the water had leaked from the center section into the end tanks. So the test that we did last night, or the last couple nights, of the fluid tightness of this divider somehow got negated. So I think this is just gonna be scrap. I'm gonna start over and maybe try something different. I don't know what yet, but we still will hang on to these pieces. Well, that's not the one that was cut. These pieces, so that we might use these on, you know, iteration number 2 of this, because I think it's got legs. I think it's the right idea, because then I can put, because this tap is like a pretty standard size, the 1/8 MPT, I could put something like this barb on the end, and then that would stick into our firewall, and then we could just run our hose off of that. I can also put 90s on this, etc., etc. So I think this idea has legs. Unfortunately, it is taking a really long time, so I'm not even gonna have time to check the fuel pressure on the car this week. I spent way too much of it welding aluminum. So, where are we? We didn't do anything this week. I'm so pissed off that this thing isn't holding the water. We got a good idea. We got a good idea of what we're doing and how to do it. We just need to do it. So I don't know, maybe I'll think of a better way to do that tank. Maybe I'll be able to find something better to do that with. But that's all I'm gonna do this week, you guys. So I'm completely out of time. Next week, I am going to put this on hold and we are going to check the fuel pressure in the car. It's getting warm enough out now that I think I can crack the door and it won't be a big deal to run the car. I can also just hotwire the pump and run the pump without running the car, which should give us an accurate reading of fuel pressure, but I'm not 100% sure. So next week we're gonna do that. We're gonna get to work on the fuel pressure regulator, do something other than brake fluid reservoir. So that's it for this week, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button. Go check us out on Instagram, Left Foot First Media. I don't put anything on there, but maybe one day I will. Check us out on Patreon. Patreons get all these videos a week early. And yeah, we'll see you next time. I'm out of here.